You were the president of a Fortune 500 company. You started out as a secretary right out of high school. You worked your way up. The vice president and the CEO are always at odds. How do you restore order and resolve this dilemma in the leadership positions being an expressive leader?
Okay. So, working my way up from the bottom of the company gives me an understanding of both their position. This entitles me as the best candidate to resolve the issue between my workers. For starters, I would individually speak to each of them to ensure they know their importance to the company, but also to try and discover the issue at hand. I would be flexible but also firm when it comes to discovering the middle ground between them, sharing my thoughts and experiences with them throughout the process. I would hope to resolve the issue. If not, as an expressive leader, my initial intent is to ensure satisfaction throughout my workforce. So I would also make sure the counterpart's importance to the group is known to guarantee a complete understanding on both parties. This will provide insight on the other's role and how important of a factor everyone is. In turn, I hope for this to resolve all the issues and return efficiency to my business.
Name the 3 types of formal organizations and explain how each is different. Explain a time you were involved in one of these types of organizations. What were the positives? What were the negatives?
Okay. So the first type of formal organizations is normative. This ideology revolves around the idea of complete voluntary participation. So this group strives off of members' willingness to do anything they are asked in order to support or maintain their cause. So the second type is coercive. Unlike the first group, this relies on force to create a strict environment of rules and regulation. This form of group is involuntary to an extent. Some forms of this type are so strict you may not be allowed to leave unless under special circumstances. The final form of organization is utilitarian, which are groups people join with a specific goal in mind. Universities are a prime example for most people. They join with the intent of improving themselves. A personal experience of mine involving a normative organization type would be my participation in sports throughout high school. This clearly classifies as this form because I willingly signed up to play multiple sports in order to positively increase my athletic nature and abilities. At cost to this, I lost study time, therefore my schoolwork could be negatively impacted. Seeing as in how the negatives could be avoided, my desire to partake in these became greater. So a second form of organization I was involved with was a coercive type. From the moment I turned 16, I fell victim to these forms of organizations as I seek compensation for labor. Jobs rely on strict rules and regulations to run their business, but also to keep their employees in order. If you're willing to follow the rules, you can then earn greater financial compensation for your work. These may be 2 completely different examples and forms, but they both revolve around the idea of ordinary life.
You decided to run for public office. Although you have little to no experience with elections, holding office, or campaigning, you feel you can be successful because you helped a friend who served in a public office seat last term. Explain how this characteristics of Weber's ideal bureaucracy, and what will you do to prove your competence under these characteristics?
Okay. So, me running for public office is an example of Weber's ideal bureaucracy because I am associating myself in the division of labor. This is the idea of being assigned to different parts of a working process to create efficiency. Being in office would grant me a higher role in the process to obtaining a goal, but also to promote change. Given my position, I am classified as higher ranking in the hierarchy pyramid of society. But even then, my position is still governed by rules and regulations that I must follow before initiating any actions. But since I aided a friend in a previous term, I now look to advance my career in becoming a representative myself. In assisting my friend, I gained experience making administrative decisions, following rules, but also how to develop and understand procedures and activities. I also obtained knowledge on how to document and preserve files. But with everything I've said so far, Although unqualified for the position, I hope my competence prevails the standards set in front of me.
As creative manager of a small group in the advertisement department, you notice one of your designers has withdrawn from the meetings, offering no input. This employee's alienation concerns you. What do you do?
Okay? So, in order to motivate an alienated employee, I would pull them aside to converse the natural order of running a business. By doing this, the employee can gain understanding of how things are supposed to be, but also understand the importance of working with others. A friendly environment is much more inviting, but is also what most workers actually need to strive in their workplace. So, seeing how most alienation is tied to a feeling of not belonging in a group, involvement by everyone is the key way to avoid it. So, upon receiving this information, I believe the issue would be resolved within the worker. If not, I would question the employee to find the true roots of the issue in order to resolve them. Moving forward from this conversation, I would make sure to run constant checks on the employee to ensure improvement in work ethic, but also their sense of belonging. Alienation is an unavoidable sensation in a workplace. So in order to make change to the issue, it must be tackled directly. As a creative manager, I would ensure self-worth and opportunities for all my employees to possibly avoid alienation in my business and create for a better future.
Thank you.